Ever wondered what the history behind the Canadian dollar might be? Let's dive into its captivating past. In the mid-19th century, Canada began to write a new chapter in its economic story. The year was 1858 when the Canadian dollar was introduced as a decimal currency, replacing the pound. This was a significant change as it marked a shift away from the British system of pounds, shillings, and pence. Influences from both the American and British currencies played a key role in shaping the Canadian dollar. Like the American system, it was based on the decimal system, making it easier to calculate. Yet it also retained a connection to the British system by aligning its value with the pound. This amalgamation of influences made the Canadian dollar distinct in its own right. The birth of the Canadian dollar marked a significant shift in Canada's economic history. The Canadian dollar didn't just appear overnight. It has a rich history of evolution and transformation. The story of the Canadian dollar isn't a linear one, but rather a series of fascinating events that shaped the currency we know today. Let's turn the clock back to the mid-19th century. It was the 1850s when Canada adopted the gold standard. This system, widely used across the globe, pegged the value of the Canadian dollar to a specific amount of gold. It brought stability and fostered international trade. But like any system, it had its drawbacks. The rigidity of the gold standard made it difficult for the government to respond to economic shifts. Fast forward to the 1930s, a time of global economic turmoil. The Great Depression hit hard, and in 1933, Canada decided to abandon the gold standard. It was a bold move, but one that allowed the government more control over the country's monetary policy. Just 2 years later, in 1935, the Bank of Canada was established. From that point onwards, it became the sole issuer of currency in the country. This was a pivotal moment in the history of the Canadian dollar, as it marked the transition from a gold-backed currency to a fiat one, a currency that's value is derived from the trust and confidence of its users. But the journey didn't stop there. Post-World War II, the world economies came together in a small town in New Hampshire, USA, known as Bretton Woods. Here they devised a new system for international monetary exchange. The Bretton Woods system pegged currencies to the US dollar, which in turn was convertible to gold. This system had a significant impact on the Canadian dollar, linking its value to the US dollar and indirectly to gold once again. From gold standard to fiat currency, the Canadian dollar has seen it all. It's a tale of resilience, of innovation, and adaptability. And as we move forward, who knows what the future holds for our loonie? But one thing's for sure, the Canadian dollar is more than just a piece of paper or a coin. It's a symbol of our nation's history and economic journey. The journey of the Canadian dollar didn't end with its departure from the gold standard. In fact, the 70s brought a significant shift as Canada adopted a floating exchange rate. This allowed the Canadian dollar's value to fluctuate with the global market, a decision that was soon put to the test with the oil crisis of the mid-70s. The dollar's value plunged, reflecting the country's heavy reliance on oil exports. But just as it has done throughout its history, the Canadian dollar adapted. It weathered the storm and emerged stronger, proving its resilience in the face of economic changes. Now, as we move further into the 21st century, another shift is taking place. The emergence of digital currencies is reshaping the financial landscape, and the Canadian dollar is once again ready to adapt. Whether physical or digital, the Canadian dollar remains a symbol of Canada's economic strength. The Canadian dollar continues to adapt and evolve in response to global economic changes. The Canadian dollar's history is a fascinating tale of economic adaptation and resilience. Born in the mid-19th century, the loonie, as it's affectionately known, has weathered many storms. From its initial inception as a decimal-based currency, it demonstrated Canada's willingness to break from the British pound and establish its own economic identity. The dollar's evolution was marked by significant milestones, such as the introduction of banknotes and the shift to a free-floating currency in the early 70s. This adaptability reflects Canada's ability to respond to global economic shifts and trends. In the modern era, the Canadian dollar continues to hold its own on the global stage, underpinned by a strong and stable economy. Despite challenges and fluctuations, it remains a resilient symbol of Canada's economic fortitude. The history of the Canadian dollar is a testament to Canada's economic strength and flexibility. It will be interesting to see where its journey takes it next.